ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to GeekVerse Review. My name is Travis Snail, and here I am again, solo. I just reviewed Fear Street. Luckily, got to see that early, but I just reviewed Fear Street, and then that is on the feed right now. Whether you are listening to the review feed or the GV feed, we thank you very much. But yes, this is another solo review. It's going to be interesting because in August, Jessica will have had her baby by then. Kirklin will be back in Alberta seeing his family, and then Taylor will be on his honeymoon. So literally, I will be alone. It's going to be me holding down lots of August. I'll probably have some guests on here or there, but we're going to have a fun time. So if you like me rambling on, you like my stories, you like my tales, that's great. If not, you're going to hate August. Maybe it'll be our low. You know what? If you like me, we got to make that the biggest month ever, just so I can rub in their face, be like, look, while you're gone, biggest month ever, or I'll be lowest month ever, because I'm gonna be like, fuck, Travis, no. But it's gonna be a good time. So I'm here to review Tomorrow War. As always, head down the description below. You have everything down there, the audio feeds, the video feeds, Twitch for our weekly game streams. Please, if you like what we do, head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star written review. That legitimately very much helps, so we'd appreciate that. If you really like what we do and you want more content, you want easier content, you want the best way to listen to it, head over to Patreon. You get a whole feed, ad-free, early episodes, exclusive episodes. You can also get the exclusive early episodes on Emerald Access on Apple Podcasts. You can check that out. Those are ad-free as well, but the other one, I'll be honest, we're waiting for them to upgrade it, because with the early and exclusive episodes, no problem uploading the Apple. The ad-free ones, we like to put let's say there's a newscast, so you can listen to just regular feed if you want. If you don't want to pay, that's great. Or if you want an ad-free option, it's there. Apple Podcasts, like, to the subscription to upload it takes like almost sometimes like a solid day for to get there, probably because we go so long. So I think because they're new, they're tweaking that. So eventually, but up there's going to be exclusive episodes, early episodes, like when we do our Spider-Man commentary tracks coming up, they'll be up there. So check all that out. Description down below, Twitter, Facebook, where to follow me, where to follow everyone else, where to follow the podcast. Check out our podcast network, 7 days a week, 9 shows. I was just on Marvel Alliance last week with Brent. We had a great time, went over 2 hours talking about Loki episode 4. Talking about a bunch of stuff, listener questions, Wong fighting Abomination. If you like Loki, if you like Marvel, we'll be reviewing Black Widow and Loki every week. So will they. So lots of fun stuff. Just we're always busy, but you guys keep keeping us busy because you keep listening and keep growing. So we thank you very much. So, oh boy. So we are here to talk about Tomorrow War. I don't know why I went, oh boy. So I will start off with, I liked this movie. How did I find out about this movie? I'd say literally just a trailer. I had heard nothing about it, but to walk it back a little bit, Amazon to me up until The Boys and Invincible had been, I like some of the stuff they do, but some of their documentary stuff was good. They did that Ted Bundy one where they interviewed the woman, the woman I think he was dating or married to for a long time. It was like the first time she talked. That was really good. But for the most part, Amazon originals for me had kind of been very hit or miss. You know, I had checked out like that Good Omen show, wasn't for me. So there's a few things I've not seen. I think Amazon has what is that? That Jack Ryan show, I think, has that. So I think everyone really enjoys that. But I hadn't watched it. So everything I'd watched, really hit or miss. Boys comes out, great. Love it. It's one of my favorite shows going right now. Invincible, same thing. Phenomenal. Might be the best season of TV I've seen, I think, this year. And I don't watch that much TV anymore because it's hard to keep up with, but great show. So with those kind of the 1-2 back to back, it's like, okay, now Amazon's getting quality. They're getting on a roll. I see this trailer for Tomorrow War. I see Chris Pratt, see Yvonne Strahovski. I think that's how you say your name. J.K. Simmons, then directed by Chris McKay. I love Lego Batman. So, okay, let's give it a shot. Watch the trailer, and I love the concept. And that's where we'll start with the spoiler review, or the if you don't know, we'll do non-spoilers, take a little ad break, and then go into spoilers. So I saw the trailer, loved the concept of, we are fighting a war against aliens or something in the future, and we've created technology that we can go back, because the soldiers I think it's in 2050, around there in this story, we're dying, we're losing, we're outnumbered. So we've created time technology to go back, bring people to the future, and fight that war with us to hopefully win, because we should find a way to win, because if not, if we just get 2050, we're going to die, right? Great concept. I thought the trailer was really well done too, but great concept. So I was like, okay, I'm in. I like people. I know some people have Chris Pratt fatigue going on. I don't really have that yet, per se. I still like Chris Pratt. The same thing with Jennifer Lawrence. I didn't have that fatigue. Maybe it's just because she does a bit more versatile thing. Maybe there's like a part in 2015, 2016 where it was a little close, but No, I still like them both. Passengers, not so much, but I still like Chris Pratt. So I'm like, okay, excited. So this is, I think, the best way to say it is if you got a big TV or something like that, which is exciting because I just bought a new TV, 120 hertz refresher. I try to get the most nice specs possible because we said the next time we get a TV, we're getting as nice as possible. Because sometimes like, oh, this is fine, this is fixing broken TV, but I'm like, no, no, no. And then this week, there was some sales. I'm like, we could probably still wait till winter because it's summer. We were locked inside right now because it's so hot. But the idea is, well, it's summer. We're going to be out doing stuff and whatnot. Let's just wait. And I decided against it. And then literally the day after, the TV started to break. It started to be like, it's been bleeding for a while, but then like the one side is like completely dark and it moves over. So got a Sony. Fantastic. I've never actually had a Sony TV. Love it. So I was so excited to watch some of my new TV. And I will say, if you are looking for just a kick-ass blockbuster science fiction movie, this fits the bill. It feels like a blockbuster you would have seen in the theaters at home. It feels, this sounds bad maybe, but a B movie with a huge budget. There are times where it's not a B movie that are like an A movie, but it definitely leans a bit more into that B movie, but it felt like, oh, this is something I didn't see at theaters and I'm watching at home. There's massive set pieces, some really cool effects going on, some effects not so much, and just the scale of it, really, like the scale of it is massive at times. There's some set pieces in here that some practical, some not, but it just feels like, wow, this is great stuff. So if you're looking big team, but if you're just looking for a huge blockbuster, because I'm gonna think we had Fast and Quiet Place, so we started them, but this would have came out last year. It's kind of like Extraction, right, with Chris Hemsworth. I think that was such a big, huge hit because we weren't getting many of those films. So it was like, oh, a kick-ass, big, like John Wick action type adventure movie, and that was, I think, it's Netflix's biggest movie. This to me has that vibe of like if Fast or Quiet Place didn't come out, and it came out last year in the midst of the pandemic, like right in the middle, man, it's huge blockbuster. Great. I think it will still be watched because people still are staying home and it's Amazon. It's picking up traction, big stars. So it fits that. I do like the movie. I think it is, and I'll lead with this. I think it's somewhere in like that 6 to 7 range for myself. So if you know my likes, you kind of know what I feel about that. If you don't, I'll explain that as we continue. I think it's like a 6.5 for me because I've always said this on GeekVerse. A 7, like obviously a 5 is just like you're just passing. A 6 is, oh, that was good enough. That was fine. I didn't hate my experience there. It's passable. A 7 is whether it is really good or whether it's so good it's bad. For some reason, a 7 is I will watch this movie again at some point in my life. I'm going at 6.5 because I don't think I will watch this movie again. I liked it. It was a good time. It was a great way to like break in the new TV. The kids actually fell asleep, didn't wake up during it. So me and my fiance just got to sit down, watch this movie to start and finish. And that was crazy because it's so fucking long. Now, you might look at it and say, I think it's only like 2 hours, 18, 2:30, something like that. But you might be like, oh, well, you love long movies, Stress. I 100% do. I've said this. If a movie can be good, make it 4 to 5 hours. I love that Endgame was 3 hours. I love that Justice League was 4 hours. I love any movie. It's like, if it's good, it's just like sex. Just like keep going, like it's a good time. This movie, it's not that it was bad after. So as I said, that's the plot, right? And I'm not spoiling anything in trailers. I'll say this as a minor spoiler. We get into that event really quick. We meet Chris Pratt. We get like a dialogue with him and his wife. And then it's like, there's an attack. Here we go. And that's during the credits. And there's pros and cons to that, but that was before I paused it at one point because I didn't know it was 2:18 or 2.5, whatever it was, until I paused it. But so, and I won't, like I said, I won't talk any spoilers. I'll just kind of use vague terms. They set up very quickly. We moved that. So when I was watching, I was like, man, we maybe could have spent a bit more time with these characters. And I think they do a good job. The incident happens and we do wait a little bit long till the full action kicks in. So I thought it was enough. I think we could have used maybe just a tad more before the event happened, but that's fine. So that gets going, and then it's not a big spoiler. Chris Pratt gets sent in to the future, right? And then that's the most specific I'm going to get. The movie, is there another trailer? I don't know. As I've said before, sometimes if I just watch one trailer for GeekVerse, but I'll watch that first one and just thought the concept. There is some fun twists and turns in here that they did not reveal in the trailer, which I really appreciate. Even though the second this thing was introduced, I said to my fiance, oh, that's what this is. And it was. And then I go, that's what this is. That's this movie. And I'm not saying like I'm a genius. I'm just saying you've seen similar things or similar beats and similar twists before, but I appreciate that they didn't show them because it's still that kind of fun thing like we talked about Spider-Man No Way Home, right? I just talked about that with Brent on Marvel Alliance. Sure, we know they're in the movie, but we don't know. No, we've never seen a photo of them. We've never had it confirmed. Once you get that trailer, that cathartic, you see them. It's like, okay, we know now, and that's what this is. It's like it's fun to try to guess, even though it just feels like lots of science fiction movies I've seen before. Not the concept, just some of the twists and turns. Like, okay, we've been here, even though some of those were executed well. So I'll say that. Um, the movie is going in a certain direction, and I'll say to about the hour and a half, hour 40 mark, it legitimately feels like one complete movie. And if the movie were to end at that mark, you'd be completely fine. And not in a way of like, oh, it's too long, too many characters. Just it legitimately felt like it was ending. And it was probably about 15 minutes before that ending point happened, that what I thought was the ending point. I paused, just go wash them. I paused it, look at this, I'm like, damn, I'm like, there's an hour left this movie. Like the way people sometimes, which I think wrongly so, complain like Dark Knight has so many ends or Return the King. This had like a full on, this is the end of the movie. And then it's like, nope, we still got 45 minutes. And it's like, okay. And that's where I think it really got hurt. I think it would have got cut off there. This would have been probably a solid 7.5 to me, because what happens after, I don't think is needed. And it's funny because the effects in this movie are pretty good. The creatures in here, I like the design. I think they're scary. I don't think they look great. And not even that they look great, they don't look real compared to what they're around the people. And just this is another minor spoiler, but it's not like Alien where it's like, okay, there's one xenomorph, maybe a couple, here we go. And it's also not like, hey, we have them in a dark spaceship, here we go. These things are fucking well lit the whole movie. The whole movie, they're at one point, the first time they meet them, this is not a spoiler, this is in the trailer. It's in that staircase, right? And I think the trailer ended with them looking up and then jump down. And but in the staircase, there's tons of lights, there's windows, and then like the next set piece, they're outside. There's one set piece, they're fighting them while there's fire. There's another set piece I won't mention because it's spoilery, that's just very bright. And you're just like, the thing is, like I was saying, it's not like Alien. It's not like there's one or two monsters. There is hundreds of these things. So I think that there's a few things you could have done. I'm not an effects guy, but I just know studying things that a way you mask stuff is you put it in darker shadows, because that's a way where, hey, when you do have to fully look at Quiet Place, when you do have to fully show it, yeah, it might look a little CG, but you get to kind of save some of the budget and you get to mirror it or mask it, right? As far as like, hey, you don't get to a full-on profile of it, so you can't see the flaws of the CGI. This is not this. This is, here you go on Front Street, and there's so many of them. So I feel like, one, all the well-lit areas were a mistake, because I think what happened is they look good, but they don't look realistic. And that's the thing, they look like they're from Love, Death, and Robots, which would look great if I'm in a Love, Death, and Robots episode, but I'm not. They're interacting with live action people. They're very close to live action people. So I think either they didn't need to put them in well-lit situations. They didn't need so many. There's times where I feel like I understand these things are like taking over the planet, right? But maybe just make them bigger or even cut them down, because it just sometimes seems like there might be even thousands, and it just lots of effects, and here's my big point. So fine, you're not gonna, you don't want to hide them in the dark. Okay, you want there to be thousands or hundreds of these things. Okay, fine. If the movie would have ended at that point where it was a perfect point to end, I feel like you would be saving lots and lots of money. And I think the monsters and creatures would have looked a lot better. I like the design of them again. I think some of them are scary. And even if that movie was the 140, maybe add another 20 minutes to get it 2 hours to close up everything. Sure. There's some stuff that you'd have to, tie a bow on, but it was very easy stuff. And it's kind of stuff that I feel like is more character work, not big budget stuff. So if you would have cut out that maybe 40 minutes, I think these creatures could look a lot better. And yeah, it just, they look good, but anytime they were showing them front, I was like, I don't know. But then eventually I just cut my mind. Like I check, I go, okay, they're going to look like this the whole movie. Here we go. So I think you could have cut a lot of that. Cast is good. I don't, and this is so funny because I praise him, especially because lots of people are hating on Chris Pratt for some other reasons stuff, which I get. I'm not a religious person. There's some people that are in certain religions I go, but luckily for the most part, I can kind of separate the two and go, okay, I like Chris Pratt as an actor. There's a few people I go, nah, I don't really jump on the boat. I'm not going to be there with you. I don't, he's better near the back end. I don't think Chris Pratt is good in this movie, and that's an unfortunate thing to say. There's this one moment where he is talking to a character and he's trying to get mad, or he is mad, and he like does thing where he goes like slam his hand on the table and gets really mad. But it just felt like you're watching somebody in one of their first roles or someone in acting school. And I don't know why, because I know Chris Pratt can be a great actor. I've seen great performances, but something just felt off. And lots of these scenes I'm talking about are not like him with CGI monsters. That I would get. I go, okay, you're trying to act with this thing that's not there. Sometimes that's a struggle for people. Fine. But I just remember the scene. He's like, I'm mad. And it just, I don't like, and I want to say I don't think he's bad, but there's times where he is bad. Yeah, there's just things that didn't really work for me as far as his performance goes. I just felt it was very wooden. And then when we get into the army fighting stuff, that was better, but it's just like he's just like yelling, like, cover me. There is one character, Yvonne Strahovski's character, who he interacts with. I think that's when he acted the best. I think those are the times where he actually felt like Chris Pratt again. I felt like, oh, you're this talented guy who's been in many big blockbuster movies who knows how to act. You know, like I don't like the Jurassic Park don't like the Jurassic World movies. The first one I don't mind, but the second one I hate. You know, you guys know I hate it so much. But I don't ever look and go, he's bad in it. You know, this is when I feel, he's a little uneasy in this one. So the rest of the cast is good. I think they do a good job. J.K. Simmons has a tank top on in this movie, and he is fucking jacked so much. Like, oh my goodness, like make a Dark Knight Returns with him. But so those are my pros. My pros are, if you want a big blockbuster adventure movie, this is it. There's some fun one-liners. I can't remember the character he plays, like Chris Pratt's the guy that goes, he's like a teacher, biology teacher or something. I can't remember. I'd have to look up. I think he has a movie out right now, like that Werewolves Within movie or whatnot it is. But anyways, I'd say humor, there's some good humor in there. There's not like, it's kind of like any comedy, I think, for the most part. It's not like something like Hangover where I go, oh, everything is great in here. Wow, they don't have them last night. I go, everything's great in here. No, it's kind of like there's some hit or miss, but I don't think there's anything objectively like really terrible where it's like, oh yeah, this joke's so bad or so offensive. Sam Richardson, who played Charlie, he was cracking my fiance up, and he did have some good one-liners. He was really good. So humor's decent. Like I said, I think it's hit or miss depending on your taste. Big budget action, some really fun, twists and turns that maybe you've seen before, but I think they're well done. Good concept. Negatives, like I said, I don't think Chris Pratt is the greatest in this one. Effects can be a little meh at times, and I think it is way too long. Because my last point on this before we get into spoilers is I feel like you could have easily, the ending point of the actual movie could have been the exact same as the other one. It just felt like they wanted to go a little longer. They want to have that big epic scale, which I guess, but to me, it already had that. So yeah, we'll expand. Like I said, probably a 6 point. I'm a 6.5. I'm that 6.7. I don't think I would watch again as much. I enjoyed it. There's nothing I really overly said, I can't wait to watch that again, So, and I would recommend this to, you like Chris Pratt, he's not the greatest in, but still you like what I've pretty much listed. Sci-fi, big adventure budgets, you want a movie to take your mind off the summer heat, this is it. So I'm going to take our first ad break, and then we're going to get into spoilers, and I got a few things to talk about, and we'll definitely talk about that ending, because I'm happy if people have seen it to expand upon why I didn't know if this was really needed. But we'll be right back. And we're back. Man, no water. Usually I take a water break during the ad break, so gonna be a little parched, but we'll get through it because there's not too much to say with spoilers. But what I'm talking about as far as I'll start with the ending, because I think I harped on that the most, right? Last chance. Either you've seen the movie or you don't care and you just want to listen for it. So Chris Pratt, he gets sent to the future, right? He meets Yvonne Strahovski, who that's the one where I said the second he met her, or the second she was introduced, I'm like, that's his daughter. And I don't know if a trailer revealed that. If it did, I didn't see that. And then even when she sees him the first time, and his character's name's Dan, she doesn't react. My fiance is like, oh, well, she didn't really act. I'm like, yeah, just wait. It's just a trope. And honestly, it's not like... it's not a trope I get mad at them for, because it's a trope I really like. It's not my favorite scene because Portals, but one of my top 5 favorite scenes in Endgame is Tony and his dad. It's just them talking, conversating, because I've said this before, whether it's in Avengers or Saw, in Saw, the traps that work the best are the ones you could relate to. The ones where it's like the guy that has to cut like it sounds terrible if you're not here for any Saw breakdowns, but the guy who has to cut a key out of his eye. You all understand about getting poked in the eye, what it feels like touching your eye. We can all go, okay, I could understand that pain. Having a big contraption hit you with a bunch of needles and putting acid in your body, yeah, it might, like, it would hurt obviously, but it's like you can't imagine that. You've never had that put in your, so it's, those are the things that work better. And that's where this trope I think does work, because could we realize what it means to go back, or back in time or in the future? No, we can't really concept that because we've never done it. Fighting aliens, sure, we've seen media and all this stuff, and there's UFOs the government talk about, but we don't have that grasp because we really haven't to deal with aliens or fight with aliens, right? So it's like that's the big blockbuster. Even going to war, for many of us, if you've listened, thank you for your service, things like that. But for myself, majority of people that have probably watched this movie, I've never gone to war, so I don't understand what that's like. I don't understand what it would be like to get drafted. Now, I don't understand what it would be like to talk to Gwen or Logan, my two daughters, in the future, but it's something I know I would do. I know I'm not going to the war. That's just not my lifestyle. I hopefully know I won't be fighting any aliens anytime soon. I know I probably won't be going into time traveling. But if it were to happen, I know you, in the sense of the way Chris Pratt's asked all these questions, you would be doing the exact same. And that's where I think it puts the viewer the same way as Tony, the same way as Chris Pratt's Dan in this movie. It puts you in that seat of like, what would I do? Because like, if I think, what would I do in this alien invasion? Well, I would try and protect my family until I probably got killed because I'm not a soldier. But with him talking to Murray, it's like, I also got to laugh because like the fact that her name's Murray and then like in Interstellar it's Murphy, and it just felt like very similar as far as one point he has to talk to her and she's going, and he sees her when she's older. Very kind of similar plot beats, similar names, but you can put yourself in that situation. Like I said, that's when Chris Pratt is the best this week, when he's talking with his daughter at an age that is either his age or older than him. And it's great seeing them work together on equations because he's a scientist, and they set that up at the beginning that he's kind of training her and teaching her and saying like, why do we breathe? Why do we breathe when we're upset? Because of oxygen. What is oxygen? All this stuff. So it was a great payoff, and it's great to see that when he gets to the future, she's like kind of smarter than him, or not smarter than him, but just she's achieved so much. Like she's going to bigger schools. She's done had all these diplomas and stuff like that. So all the banter was fun. All the stuff of him getting revealed that, him and his wife eventually split. And then, he doesn't talk to the mom. And then they get in a car accident and he dies. So he's only alive for 7 years because they revealed that the to and from, they send people back from the future to tell us that, hey, we need your help. And then the people they send the forward are people that have died already before this event would happen. So like Chris Pratt's character, he dies in 7 years from our standpoint because of a car accident. They send him because there'd be like no time travel mumbo jumbo because he's not going to meet himself in the future, right? Because he's dead. Same thing for our future people. They send the people back that haven't been born so they don't meet themselves. We'll talk about that because there's one part where I go, what would happen there? But they solve it really quickly. Really like that. As far as their sort of time and their time travel too, they talked about that they made two type of bases, and it's like you can only go to wherever this blue pike is. You can only go to when that's in time. So it's going at the same time. So it's like you can only time travel like only 50 years in the future because that's when it was created. It's not like you go at any point. So it's like they created one there and then they went back and created one with in 2000 whatever, everything was 20 or something because 50, 30 years or 30, whatever it is, when Chris Pratt's character is happening. I like that. It's like two moving ships. You can never go backwards. You can just jump on. Worked for me. And then the people, as far as who could time travel, cool, very fun. Really crazy scene when they kind of like abduct Chris Pratt to draft him, and they're like putting the thing in his arm, and they're telling him he's going to die in 7 years, and good stuff there. So he's talking to Veronica Gronsky and all the stuff they're talking. I think I butcher her name every single time. I'll have to learn it because I'm doing the Dexter retro soon. Started that season 1. Love that show. They're talking, and the idea is they're bonding and, reveal some stuff about the future, all these things, and just great chemistry there as far as that working. The idea is they go on a lot of ventures, but the idea is that they have to find a toxin. There's something in a lab they're working in. The lab's getting destroyed. They got to get it and get it out. One thing I will mention is when they send Chris Pratt's crop of people into the future, something goes wrong, and they send them like atop of buildings. So Chris Pratt luckily lands in a pool, some other characters, but there's many people who went to go fight in this war who just got dropped on a roof, and that was it. That was their story. Like that has to be the worst way to possibly go. You think you're fighting war and you don't even get a shot. And then they say families get paid like $1 million if he died. So lots of millions were being spent. But so lo and behold, I'm not going to go through every plot point. Lots of fighting these creatures. Lots of they talk about like who the female is, and she's the queen, and she's the strongest. All this stuff. So they get to this point where there's going to be another jump that's going to happen, so Chris Pratt can go back because all of them stay there a week. They've created the toxin. Him and his daughter together worked on to get it bonding 100%. They're going to send it back because they've been so damaged and attacked that she says, in your era or your timeline right now, Chris Pratt, you have the manpower, you have the technology, you have ways to deploy this toxin everywhere when it happens. We don't have it at all. So, we can shoot one animal, but that's about it, or one alien, that's about it, right? So the plan is to send him back with this toxin so he can, it's a cure pretty much, get rid of these aliens, right? They're getting attacked. Big set pieces, very cool. Like I think it would be like an oil rig maybe they have in the water or something like that. With it's implanted in the water and lots of layers. Don't know, never looked in the rigging. I just think that's what it is. So they're getting attacked, and there's a big set piece there, and them fighting everything like that. And then Murray, his daughter, gets shot. They shoot these like spike things and get shot, and she's gonna die and stuff like that. And he's really, which we'll get into, but he's really talking about like, well, I'm gonna come back and still save you and everything like that's gonna be fine. Like, I get it, but I think like she kept trying to explain to him, and that's the same way I thought of like, dude, you just got to get to the past, and then you can make sure none of this happens. Because he's like, I'm gonna go to the past, I'm gonna jump forward and get you guys it. So I guess there would be an idea that there would be two timelines happening. That there would be the one Murray is in, the one where the aliens invaded, and the ones that they weren't, and they'd still be alive together. But it's still just kind of like, just focus on your timeline, man. Because even she's like, just go back so none of this happens. No matter what, yes, Murray, his daughter, is gonna die. His older daughter, like his daughter that's age, is gonna die at this point, and she's lived through this all, so it's gonna be tough for him to live with. But at the end of the day, go take care of your timeline. So it was dumb as far as he would keep questioning this of like almost thinking like he's gonna stay. It's like, no, dude, like, I get your daughter's there, and he's learned that he got divorced, he died, so it's like feels like he's living literally on borrowed time. That's what she says. But it's just like, dude, like, try, like, you have all this info, go back. So his character acts a little dumb there, but she does like a self-sacrifice, really good emotional scene when she is dying. And that's another thing I called, because she says, oh, I was there the day you died. I'm like, oh, well, he's gonna be there the day she dies. And she was, and he was, sorry. And there's a shot, I think they showed in the trailer, now we know it was, they're on this oil rig, the creatures break it down, and same thing, like he has a toxin, he catches her, right? She's falling, he catches her, she was all getting a die, she had like a huge stab wound, but he catches her because he's like, I'm still gonna save you. She kind of lets go so he can go. She's falling in this like water filled with all these creatures, and he jumps off, and you get this cool shot of them two falling, they're trying to grab hands, there's all these monsters grabbing at him, and then the time thing happens and he gets sucked in, put back in his timeline. But it's like, dude, again, your daughter explaining this, I didn't understand it. It's like, I get this as your older, I 100% get it, but it's like, if you just die here, then no matter what, everybody dies. So it just didn't make much sense for the character. I feel like he does a few of these things where he's very dumb, as far as he had to let her go. And if he would have jumped in with her and died, it's like, well, that's game over for us all. So you're a fucking idiot. But anyways, so he gets back. He has the talks, and he talks to the government and everything. And that whole oil rig sequence feels like a big finale. Fights, gunpowder, everything, shots, cool effects, monsters all over, the queen's there, stuff like that, because they've kidnapped her. That was the big thing of how they got everyone found where the good guy's base was, is they had to kidnap the female queen to get the toxin working and like to test it on her. And they think they needed like an antidote of her blood so they can, science stuff, right? She breaks out, she screams, all these things go there. So it felt like the finale movie. And this is like, I think at the hour 40 mark. And that's when I did pause it a little bit about 20 minutes before. And go, oh my gosh, because so he gets back into the present day, and at first it seems like he has like maybe a little PTSD, which I like that stuff. He gets back home, he feels very unsure. He's seeing his daughter again for the first time. He just saw his daughter die. He's seeing her as a child. So it looks like, oh, are they going to do this? That he's suffering from like PTSD and stuff. That's why they break up. No, they create a whole new timeline, which is fine. I like that. He knows what's going to happen. He can fix those mistakes. But what I didn't like was, to me, the whole movie was, we got to get this toxin and we got to get in the future. That to me was the main objective. And then we did that. And then there was another 40 minutes. And the 40 minutes was, instead of waiting for the aliens, we were going to go find them and like take the fight to them. I understand. I understood, I guess, the idea of it, but I just think it was a good crescendo there because as the movie goes on, that's when it feels more B-rate. That's when we get into stuff like I get it. I get it, especially the past few years as far as government, right? They make a lot of dumb decisions in this movie, much like real life. But the thing is, they have this idea where they might they keep saying in the future that the aliens came out at this point and we don't know what happened because there was no alien ships, anything like that. What happens is they figure out that the ship actually crashed like a long time ago, but it got frozen and then it unfroze, and that's how they got out. So that's how they wouldn't attract it, right? And they have this theory, and just what I just don't like about it is the government who they pitch it as, well, the worlds are fighting, so we can't get along. But the world has agreed to send people back in the future. They know there's massive aliens, and they show in the news people are rioting because this new stuff like that. But they just know that there's bad shit going on. And Chris Pratt and a couple guys have scientifically figured out this theory, and they go to just one government guy, just one guy, and he just shoots it down like right away. He uses the world's are at war thing, but he's just kind of like, no, like that's not the point. Like, and then Chris Pratt gets this ragtag team together of some of the people that win the future with him. Some of the people that were from the future are stuck there. What was that other guy's name I talked about? Charlie. He gets his dad, J.K. Simmons, who he has a bad relationship with because J.K. Simmons left his family because they got a divorce and stuff. So they're kind of mirroring that. And it just didn't feel necessary to me. The ending of the movie was you got the toxin and the government would mass produce that thing. So the second those aliens got there, they destroy him. And I get it because people now would say, well, that wasn't the plot then. It was, they wanted to find it before it ever happened. Yes, but I just don't think they did a good enough job of the government. Even the American government wouldn't be like, yeah, we should look into this. Let's even just find a way. Like, I just, I don't know. And like I said, they do play off this one guy like, no, the worlds are fighting. But I just feel like, hey, in this situation, when it was, it's very much like lots of the worlds right after 9/11, or lots of the countries after 9/11. They really banded together to help us and be like, you know what, whatever you need to do, you do it. Years later, obviously some stuff came down. Should we have done this? Should we have done that? Should we pull out? But when 9/11 happened, it was almost like, wow, everyone was like, fuck that other country. Look what they just did to the States. They could do that to us. They just lost so many people. Terrorist attack. We got your back, US. Of course, there's some people that weren't. But I just feel like in this situation, it'd be different if there was some way they didn't know people are coming from the future, but they know that. And I just feel like if they had an inkling of any information that, hey, we could possibly stop this threat before it happened, I feel like if you were to get that to Russia or someone who they say is like, that's where these creatures are. They're in Russia, frozen there. I don't know. It just didn't seem believable, or they didn't write it in a believable way. And then he gets this team of like 9 people to like sneak into Russia, and they find the ship and take it out. And it's just, again, I think the movie could have been, they found the toxin, and when these things come, we'll disperse it, and we've won. Like, we've fixed the future. So they added this 40 minutes of, where could they be? Let's get our team together. Oh, the government won't support us. We got to go alone. Oh, here's the big set piece. And this is why I was talking about in the non-spoilers. They go to somewhere very cold in Russia, and there's snow, and everywhere, like they said, it's completely frozen. And it's so bright. So these things are in the snow. And again, they just look poor effects wise. And the action, it's fine. I think it was, and like throughout the movie, it's good, but I feel like it's still fine when you get to near the end because it's lots of one versus one of these creatures. And anytime it's that's not the greatest because they don't look that well. I don't think they look bad. I think I'm making them sound a lot worse than they actually are. They just didn't look great. They could have looked a lot better for how much they're in the movie. But you get a big set piece of heroes sacrificing themselves, and Charlie and J.K. Simmons, Chris Pratt all make it out. Chris Pratt in the middle is talking about second chances. So he's going to give J.K. a second chance because he helped him with this. There's so many times where J.K. is about to get killed. He's like sniping on these things. I think it's the queen, and she's running him. And then Chris Pratt comes out of nowhere on like a snow bike, and he like kicks off the snow bike and he hits in the creature and he lands, he starts shooting. And then there's this other moment where Chris Pratt is fighting this thing and he hits it, and it was a cool moment. He hits it with the toxin because they showed before they were just hanging their tanks in the ship. He shows before they put the toxin, they like die from the inside. He hit this thing in the arm with the toxin, and it starts to rot away. It's like, oh, he won. And even he's smiling. And then the thing amputates his own arm off by biting it. Very cool, very smart. So he does that, and it's kind of like he's screwed. J.K. Simmons cuts his own hand, like, look, I'm bleeding. Like, come get me. It does. And then while it's, I don't under like, and this is where I think the first hour and a half, hour 40 was a very well done B movie to an A movie, but just like it felt like great action movie with bad effects, maybe not like the most particularly awesome writing in times, but like it just felt a lot better. It didn't feel like a B movie. Like I said, it feels like a B movie that knows what it is and it has a big budget and it's doing a good job. The latter half feels like, okay, we're getting into cheesy territory here. J.K. Simmons cuts his hands. He puts it up. Come get me, creature. Creature's running full stop, full power, full speed. Chris Pratt runs over, jumps on its back, and slits its throat in midair. And it looks cheesy for him doing it. It looked cheesy because of the effects, and it didn't make any sense. Like, this thing was going. There's no way you're catching it, but it did. And he slits its throat, and then he puts the toxin in its head. Also, you can't amputate your own head. Not going to live much, are you? And it just, the whole kind of last 40 felt very bad B movie-ish. And but Charlie made out, J.K. Simmons, Chris Pratt, and he has this line at the beginning of the movie or near the start, and what happens is Betty Gilp, who's in this movie only for a little bit, I hope she blows up. She's just great. She found her first in Glow, and I hope she's in a lot more going forward. But she's his wife, and they at first had the idea when he gets drafted, they like insert these rods in the arm, so he has this like time travel thing stuck to his right arm. She has this idea that they're going to leave country, don't go to the draft because you might die. J.K. Simmons is like some sort of maybe former ops. Like, he knows all this stuff, right? He's like working on a plane, but he's doing like backdoor shady, maybe taking in like, I don't know, for working for some guy. He just knows shit. They literally say like he knows how to get you, to make you disappear, get you across the border without anyone knowing. And he would also know how to get this thing off. Chris Pratt goes there out of like pride. He decides not to do it, which at the end of the day it worked out because he went on the mission. He found the toxin with his daughter. Great. But like, they just got in an argument and he's like, fuck it, I'm not going. I'll go out there and die instead. It's like, all right, that's not the greatest stubborn move, but whatever. And he's like, you know what? Stop sending my daughter Christmas cards too, because you're not seeing her. And J.K. Simmons looks very upset. He's, saying that like your life is better that me and your mother didn't stay together and stuff like that. But they're very torn apart, right? When they have to get in Russia, they go to him. J.K. earns a second chance, and then it ends the movie. He brings Grandpa J.K. Simmons to meet Murray and Betty Gilpin, just like, this is your grandpa. And it was just so cheesy because the daughter who's never just like, Grandpa. It's like, I know we're being like a little kid, but it's just like, okay, maybe we need a little more context here. But I think that's everything I have to say on this. Like I said, I'm not filling in all the pages, like all the colors on the painting, but it's kind of in the middle, one action set piece after another. All solid stuff. Effects are fine. There's nothing hugely breathtaking like, oh, that was a great action sequence. That was really smart, stuff like that. It's just like, you know what? I had a good time in this movie. Good watch. Probably won't watch it again. Would I watch a sequel? There shouldn't be, because they didn't even leave the door open at all. They're like, no, we fucking killed every last one of them. But yeah, it wasn't as great as I was hoping. I think a better concept, and that's the thing, because maybe that's why I was less into it as well near the back half, because the first two acts are about the concept that I really enjoyed, the concept that got me to watch this movie. The third act, not so much. And then that third act's not done to me the greatest. So yeah, that's Tomorrow War. I enjoyed my time with it. I will give Chris McKay one more chance to watch because I loved Lego Batman. So whatever he does next, hopefully maybe Nightwing one day, unlikely. Whatever he does next, I would probably watch, but this wasn't like another like home run where I'm like, yeah, Chris McKay is one of my favorites. He's doing this. Like, okay, yeah, that was solid, but let's see what else you got. So if you like this review, or if you like the movie, or if you have anything you think I was wrong on, or you want to point out, please head to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube in the comments, Discord. We have a link down below, our GV Discord, where it's myself, other hosts and listeners talk about this and other news. So it's always a fun time in there. But let me know what you thought. Thank you very much for your time and listening to this review. And I promise when you hear from me next, it'll not be boring.